Last week we made our code think with if statements. This week we make it repeat. Loops let you run the same code over and over, whether that's 10 times, 1,000 times, or until a condition is met. Without loops, you'd be copying and pasting the same lines endlessly. Imagine printing numbers 1 to 1,000 without a loop. That's 1,000 print statements. Let's fix that. The for loop is the most common loop in Python. It runs a block of code once for each item in a sequence. Here's the basic structure. We write for, then a variable name, then in, then something to loop over, then a colon. The indented code below runs once for each item. Just like with if statements, indentation matters. Everything indented under the for line is part of the loop. Let me show you with a simple example. We're looping over a list of fruits. Each time through the loop, the variable fruit holds the current item. First iteration, it's apple. Second iteration, banana. Third, cherry. Python handles all the counting and item selection for you. You can name that variable anything you want. I used fruit because it makes sense here. We're looping over fruits. Some people use I or X for short loops, but descriptive names make your code easier to read. Now let's loop over a string. Strings are sequences of characters, so when you loop over a string, you get one character at a time. The word Python gives us P, Y, T, H, O, N, each on its own line. This is useful for processing text character by character, checking for specific letters, counting vowels, or transforming text one character at a time. What if you want to loop a specific number of times? You don't have a list to loop over, you just want to repeat something. That's where range comes in. Range generates a sequence of numbers. By default, it starts at 0. This prints 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice it stops before 5, not at 5. Range always stops 1 before the number you give it. This catches people out at first, but there's a good reason. Range of 5 gives you exactly 5 numbers, starting from 0. You can also specify a starting point. Now we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Range from 1 to 6, stopping before 6. 2 arguments mean start and stop. And you can add a step value, how much to increment each time. Start at 0, go up to 10, step by 2, we get 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. 3 arguments mean start, stop, and step. You can even count backwards with a negative step. Start at 5, go down to 0, step by -1. We get 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Perfect for countdowns. Range is incredibly useful. You'll use it constantly for repeating actions a set number of times, for generating sequences, and for accessing list items by index. The for loop runs a set number of times. You know in advance how many iterations you'll get. The while loop is different. It runs until a condition becomes false. Here's the structure. We write while, then a condition, then a colon. The loop keeps running as long as the condition is true. Before each iteration, Python checks the condition. True? Run the code. Then check again. Still true? Run again. Eventually the condition becomes false, and the loop ends. Let me show you a countdown. We start count at 5. Each time through the loop, we print the count and subtract 1. When count reaches 0, the condition count greater than 0 becomes false, and the loop stops. Then we print liftoff after the loop. Be careful with while loops. If your condition never becomes false, you get an infinite loop. Your program runs forever. This is an infinite loop. While true is always true, so it never stops. If you run this, you'll have to force quit your program. Control-C in most terminals will do it. Always make sure your while loop has a way to end. Either the condition changes inside the loop, or you use break to escape. Sometimes you need more control over your loops. Maybe you want to stop early when you find what you're looking for. Maybe you want to skip certain items. That's where break and continue come in. Break exits the loop immediately. The moment Python hits break, it jumps out of the loop and continues with whatever comes after. Here, we're looping through numbers 0 to 9. When we hit 5 and the break kicks us out of the loop entirely, we never see 6, 7, 8 or 9. The loop just ends. Continue is different. It skips to the next iteration. When num equals 5, continue skips the print statement and jumps straight to the next number. So we see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, then 6, 7, 8, 9, everything except 5. The loop keeps running, we just skipped one iteration. These work in both for loops and while loops. They're useful when you're searching for something and want to stop early, or when you want to skip certain items that don't meet your criteria. Here's a practical example. Finding a specific item. We loop through a list of students. When we find Charlie, we print a message and break. No point checking the rest of the list. We found what we wanted. You can put loops inside other loops. This is called nesting. The inner loop runs completely for every single iteration of the outer loop. We have 2 colors and 3 sizes. For each color, we loop through all the sizes. So we get red S, red M, red L, then blue S, blue M, blue L. The inner loop runs completely for each iteration of the outer loop. With 2 colors and 3 sizes, we get 6 combinations. If we had 10 colors and 10 sizes, we'd get 100 combinations. Nested loops are powerful but can get slow with large datasets. Each level of nesting multiplies the number of iterations. 2 loops of 1,000 items each means 1,000,000 iterations. 3 loops, 1,000,000,000. Think carefully before adding more nesting. A common use case is working with grids or tables. For each row, we loop through each column and print the position. This is how you'd process a spreadsheet, render pixels on a screen, or set up a game board. Python has an unusual feature that most other languages don't. You can add an else clause to a loop. The else block runs when the loop completes normally, without hitting a break. If the loop finishes all its iterations naturally, the else runs. If break interrupts the loop early, the else is skipped. Here we're searching for the letter X in the word Python. We check each letter. If it's X, we print a message and break. But Python has no X, so we never hit break. The loop completes normally and the else block runs, printing X not found. This pattern is useful for search operations, where you want to know if something wasn't found. Without loop else, you'd need a separate variable to track whether you found anything. Let's put it all together with some real examples you'll actually use. First, summing a list of numbers. We start with a total of 0, then loop through each number and add it to the total. After the loop, total holds the sum. Simple, effective, and a pattern you'll use constantly. Second, finding the maximum value. We assume the first item is the maximum. Then we check each other item. If we find something bigger, that becomes the new maximum. By the end, we found the highest score. The same pattern works for minimum, just flip the comparison. Third, a simple guessing game. We use, while true, an infinite loop. Inside, we get a guess from the user. If it matches the secret number, we congratulate them and break out of the loop. If not, we tell them to try again and the loop continues. The only way out is guessing correctly. These patterns, accumulating values, finding extremes, running until a condition is met, you'll use them constantly in real programs. That's loops in Python. You now know how to use for loops to iterate over sequences, lists, strings, anything iterable. You know the range function for looping a specific number of times with control over start, stop, and step. You know while loops for repeating until a condition becomes false. You know break to exit a loop early and continue to skip to the next iteration. You know how to nest loops for working with grids and combinations. And you know Python's unusual loop else feature for detecting when a loop completes without breaking. These patterns appear everywhere. Summing values, searching for items, processing data row by row, loops make it possible. Next week we're covering functions, how to organize your code into reusable blocks. Your programs are about to get a lot cleaner. If this helped, subscribe. New tutorial every week, and we're getting closer to building real projects. See you in the next one.